Welcome
Hey,
to another episode.
the bar is ankle high.
We back, kind of.
Better or worse. I'm Katie.
I'm Garrett.
And this week's episode, we didn't remember to do a Patreon shout out last week, so this week's episode, probably for the best, given that topic.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. See,
yeah.
it worked out.
But we're back to our regularly scheduled ADHD topics,
Goodies.
I guess. Yeah. So this week is dedicated to our Patreon, Donna Smith.
What's up?
Hey, I have seen your question about micropenises
And beefing.
and beefing. Your commentary.
I beef upon you.
I lay my beef at your feet.
Oh, that was so funny. If you haven't tuned into our Patreon, man, you're missing some good, completely unregulated conversations.
Speaking, though, of Patreon, we have decided to add some different tiers. It used to be just a single tier for $5 a month. But we added 2 more tiers. So now on Patreon, you can join our $2 tier for $2 a month.
What are they called?
They're called the toe rings.
Love it. 5 stars.
Our toe ring tier for $2, which I just now noticed all the alliteration.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But in any event,
I love alliteration. That's how I name everything. So, I mean, I love it personally. If you don't like it, don't be a toe ring. I don't know what to tell you.
don't be such a toe ring about it.
If I say it with conviction, it'll make sense.
So yes, for $2 a month, you get, high fives if you happen to see us in public, but also, you get access to our monthly horoscopes that are totally legit and not at all completely made up.
And if you see us in public and try and give us a high five, the sheer panic comes first. And then when I register what's happening, then you will get a high five.
That's true. Yeah. You have to approach Garrett slowly from the side like a wild animal.
Yep. Or like shake food at me like you do like a cat. Like
pretzels.
shake some pretzels and hummus at me and it's a different conversation.
Yep. It's like the opposite of Hansel and Gretel.
Yes.
But it's Hansel and Garrett.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's good.
So then our second tier is our $5 anklet tier. You get the horoscopes. You also get our bi-weekly Dysfunction Junction episodes, polls that go along with that. And
on things that we can't agree on.
Yeah, so $5 anklets. So yeah, you get your monthly fake horoscopes, the bi-weekly Dysfunction Junction episodes. You get your sticker. From us, and a Patreon shout out on air, like Donna got today, and fan requests. So if you want to request a topic for us to cover, either for Patreon or in a regular episode, you get kind of like priority attention on that. And then our $10 a month Patreons, our Limbo Champion tier.
Oh, because it's the bar.
Yes.
Limbo under the... You know what? That just clicked for me. That's great.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you got that right away.
No, she told me the names of the tiers, and I was like, cool. I like the toe ring, and the limbo just completely...
Because I was trying to think, because like toe ring is smaller than an anklet, of course.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to think of something bigger than an anklet, but a necklace doesn't really make sense for everything else about our podcast.
Right.
So I thought Limbo Champion.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. So anyway, Limbo Champions get all the other topics or benefits we just discussed. Plus, they get added to our close friends list on Instagram and access to the secret Patreon-only Facebook group. And you get ad-free episodes once we start doing ads in our regular episodes.
Because it's coming.
Yes. So, join now, $10 a month. And, yeah, those are your options for Patreon. You can join there's a link in the banner on our website at thebarsanklehigh.com, or you can go to patreon.com/thebarsanklehigh.
And we talk about it a lot on Instagram, too. We'll share plenty of links to episodes and Patreon and all that fun stuff.
Yes, we do.
Memes, mostly. Funny things.
A lot of memes, yeah.
So we are talking about what today, Katie?
We're talking about hyperfixations.
And we're going to try our best.
Yeah, we're both, for whatever reason,
very tired
today. So if we sound like we have some vocal fry, and you don't like that,
or that we're clinically dead,
and you don't like that, just keep those opinions to yourself and bear with us. We're doing our best.
Trying our best today. Katie showed up this morning and I was like, hey, I'm just going to tell you right up front, I think I'm dead. And she was like, oh, good, because I also think I'm dead. And I was like, oh, good.
Yeah, we both had a giant sigh of relief because I was driving to Garrett's house and I was like, oh, man, I wish we were doing the ADHD and sleep episode today.
Yeah, this is a good, I guess, topically, it's a good preview of other topics we have coming up. We are going to talk about sleep sometime in the near future. Kind of disorganized thinking. There's a little bit of overlap there.
Yeah, we'll have some callbacks, I think, this episode to our previous intro episodes for sure, because woof.
Yeah, we are rough this morning. And seasonal affective. I think this is also a very good preview of what I am like with seasonal affective disorder. So, which we will also be doing an episode on. So, nice little preview.
Yeah, happy November, gang, because my goodness.
Yep, that change in light is hardcore.
Yeah. Hopefully, once the election is over, though, the House will vote on the fucking Saving Sunlight Act or whatever the fuck they called that thing.
I swear to God. I thought they already did.
Me too, and I looked it up earlier this week, and I got viciously angry.
All summer, I was like, the clocks aren't gonna change. The clocks aren't gonna change.
I knew they were going to change in the fall, but then in next spring, they're not. Once we change them, they're not going to change again.
Yeah.
So we spring forward, and then that's it. But the House won't vote on this fucking bill that unanimously passed the Senate. Like, unreal.
I will fight every one of those dusty bitches if they don't pass this bill.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I cannot deal with I mean, obviously we're going to cover it in the seasonal affective episode, but man, time change.
I don't understand why that wasn't just an instant vote. Like, I
don't understand why we did it to... Oh, yeah, no, I can't.
Anyway.
You want to get me going on a tirade? Get me going about daylight savings? Oh, my God. Oh, okay. So anyway, hyperfixation.
Hyperfixation.
Oh, here we go.
So, fun fact, guys. Hyperfixation or hyperfocus, I'm going to use the terms interchangeably. I
do have a definition of each, if that would be helpful.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
So lifeskillsadvocate.com did a blog post about hyperfixations and ADHD. They said a hyperfixation is a relatively short-lived obsession with a particular object or activity. It is often characterized by repetitive behaviors and a difficulty shifting attention to other tasks. Hyperfocus, on the other hand, is a more sustained form of concentration that is usually triggered by an interesting task or problem. So they said, like, hyperfixations are more like trouble regulating your attention. I mean, which obviously we've talked about many times on this podcast. So I guess when I'm thinking about it, I think of you hyper-focus on a hyperfixation.
Yeah, no, those definitions make a lot of sense. Because I can hyper-focus at work.
Yes, I'll hyper-focus for hours.
I can also hyper-fixate on the Chernobyl disaster and just eat up any content I can find on that.
What were those they were like sextuplets or something? There was like a whole bunch of those kids in Quebec, that story.
Oh, where they were like given to a hospital or something?
And that was wild.
That was a crazy story when I found that.
Yeah, so we both tend to want to hear something crazy, and then we send each other whatever the crazy story was, and then we both fall down the rabbit hole of reading about it.
Yeah.
I think of hyperfixation like an activity.
Yeah, like when I get really into cross-stitching.
Yeah, or like
intermittently.
Food or clothing items. And then hyperfocus, I usually think of like something that sometimes, if you really usually at work, sometimes with cleaning too, I'll really like fall into it, and I just like lose track of time. And lately it's been OneNote. I'm just really obsessed with OneNote. So that's a great ADHD tool, by the way, Microsoft OneNote.
Yeah, we're not sponsored by them yet, but I will take Bill Gates' money.
Give me that.
Anytime.
Yes, I will say whatever you want about OneNote.
Give me all your microchip injections, Bill Gates.
Oh, yeah. You want to test a vaccine on me? And I'll talk about OneNote? Sure.
Yeah, by all means. I'm actually getting my booster tomorrow after my test.
I got mine this week. At the same time my flu shot. And, wow.
Maybe that's why you're tired.
Yeah, you know what? Things are...
See, I don't have that excuse.
I'm piecing things together now. I came into work on Wednesday and I was like, I'm struggling. This is rough. But anyway. So yes, hyperfixations versus hyperfocus.
Yeah, I had, so mine didn't differentiate between them, my sources that I found.
And most of our sources today are going to be anecdotal because this is kind of like emotional dysregulation. There's not a lot of hard data.
Yeah, and actually hyperfocus / hyperfixation are not official symptoms of ADHD in the DSM.
Right, but we all know. We all know the truth.
So yeah, I found this article that was analyzing different studies. The name of the article was Hyperfocus, the Forgotten Frontier of Attention.
It's a good title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except I'm hearing it in like William Shatner's voice because of Star Trek.
Yeah, that's
the
good.
Forgotten Frontier.
Or it could be what's his name? Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, I prefer Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. In any event, this article found that there isn't a quantitative definition of hyperfocus. So it's really difficult for researchers and clinicians to actually study hyperfocus because there's no...
It's so individual.
Right. There's no official definition, so they can't determine, for example, like what can be considered interesting to the person because it is so individual.
Yeah, dopamine blasting is really
a
very individual thing.
Right. How long do you have to be engrossed in the task for it to be considered a hyper-focused task?
It's definitely like a moving target. Yeah, that makes sense.
For sure.
Yeah.
And does the task need to produce enjoyment that is like a video game where it doesn't necessarily accomplish anything? Like, there's no real world, like, quote-unquote benefit to playing the video game? Or can it be something like completing your homework or doing work deadlines and stuff like that?
Now that you mention it, yeah, I guess all of mine are... this is freaking me out to say because I feel weird about it, but all of mine are productivity based. Right.
So...
Oh, God. Do I not allow myself enjoyment? Oh, my God. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue. I'm going to have my existential crisis in silence.
Well, so in this article, they determined, but they also analyzed hyperfocus and hyperfixation in the context of people with ADHD, schizophrenia, and autism spectrum disorder.
Okay, so lots of neurodivergence included.
Yes. And it seemed like the studies into ASD and schizophrenia, the authors of this article came up with 4 criteria or features of hyperfocus that are consistently reported across conditions. 1, it's characterized by an intense state of concentration or focus. It's unrelated to external stimuli, and external stimuli do not appear to be consciously perceived, sometimes reported as diminished perception of the environment.
Yep, that's accurate.
3, the task has to be fun or interesting. And 4, task performance improves during the hyper-focused period.
Yeah, so I think, again, mine are not, I mean, there's enjoyment in them, in my hyperfixations, but
yeah,
they're also serving a purpose.
I think it also ties into our poor planning episode where we talked about that horizon metaphor, where it's the idea of like, okay, I can see what's on the horizon and I am focused on that so much and getting to that point on the horizon.
Yeah, it's like a short-term version of that almost.
Right. Like, so I'm focused on that. That's what's interesting to me. That's what my goal is. And because I can actually, when I'm hyper-focused on something, perceive what the goal is, which is the issue with poor planning and ADHD, is that we have difficulty in that forward imagination land.
And, like, regulating that.
Right. So that is what's feeding your dopamine receptors, is the idea of like, I can see this goal and I'm going to get it and I can do it. And like that kind of thing. I think also probably the reason that a lot of our hyper focus is related to productivity things is from masking, because we were diagnosed so late.
Yeah. I mean, when we talked about, like hyperactivity, we talked about that. That's how I described it as toxic productivity, which I really was limiting to I guess that's how my my hyperactivity manifests usually is I'm cleaning or organizing or tidying or something. Not being able to sit still, but now that I'm thinking about it, like all of my hyperfixations pretty much, there's like an end goal to them. I'm doing it because I'm getting fulfillment from it, but I think that there is also definitely an element of like toxic productivity to it, and that I'm not playing a video game. I'm playing something that I have something tangible at the end of it, or I'm doing something, you know, there's definitely a desired outcome as opposed to doing something because I enjoy it. I do them because I enjoy them, but also because I have this outcome.
Yeah, there's a measurable product at the end of it. Like when I get hyper focused,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, like I thought of it a lot when I was reading this of your garden.
Yep.
Because like it not only like as it relates to your hyperactivity, I think it is a way to get out that energy, keep your hands busy, distract your mind. It's kind of quiet, like nobody really bothers you while you do it, theoretically. But then, you get to see it grow, and then once it's productive, it's like a reward that you worked for, but you can also kind of walk away from it. Like you aren't tied to it forever. Yeah, no, and I think the other good thing is it's because there's always something to do. So it's a good thing that I always have like on the back burner, that when I have that agitated feeling because I feel like I need to be doing something and I can't sit still, again, call back to our hyperactivity episode. Or excessive activity. I don't remember how we were summarizing it, but I think it was excessive. 7, I think. Yeah, one of them. It's something that I've like always got available to me as an option to keep myself busy when I'm feeling like I need something to do with my hands or I'll explode. Casual. You know, little things like that. It's kind of like when you get that feeling that you have to get the weird out. Yes. If I don't do it, I'll explode. Totally. Allegedly. Did you go on WebMD at all? I feel like I did, but I didn't. Okay. So WebMD I thought was actually like a pretty concise way to like think of it, actually, that didn't involve self-diagnosing yourself with cancer. Self-diagnosing yourself. I'm good at words. Look, we told you guys that we were tired. A diagnostic, self-diagnosing diagnostic tool. To diagnose yourself when somebody else won't diagnose you. We're just Andy Dwyer here today, that's all. Who's gonna put oil in my car? The coffee pot exploded because somebody tried to make ramen, and it's a mess. I don't know what happened. How am I gonna pay the mortgage bill on my apartment? It's questions like this. That's my favorite Andy Dwyer moment, by the way. They had that playing at the nail salon yesterday, and it was the episode where they merged with Eagleton. Yeah. And Parks and Rec? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I'm thinking Andy Bernard. Oh! My bad. Wrong Andy.
Yeah, Sandy Dwyer. That too. Yep.
Yeah, no, it was the merger episode where what's his face? Billy Eichner.
Oh, yeah, Craig.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the grass.
Yes.
Side note, if you haven't seen Bros, we went and saw that.
Oh, was it good?
I was like laughing. There wasn't a lot of people in the theater. I can tell you I was laughing out loud harder than most other people.
Ooh,
because
I love
I
that.
find him really funny.
Oh my god, he's an absolute riot.
Yeah, so I thought that movie was... I thought it was very funny.
Yeah, it is one of the best episodes also of Parks and Rec. Because, like, the way that he screamed at Donna about how great her name was.
Yeah.
Don't ever change it!
And she just stared at him.
Yes.
Like, what am I dealing with here?
And then he yelled at the person on the phone about the grass, and she was like, is there a medication that you're supposed to be on and forgot to take, or maybe not supposed to be on but took too much of?
Fair question.
But anyway, WebMD said that hyperfocus can make ADHD much harder, or can make it much harder to diagnose ADHD in children who are considered gifted because they do better in school, which allows them to get past the issues with learning that can often accompany ADHD. Huh. Even if they have trouble with some aspects of school, hyperfocus can make it harder to spot because they do get the work done and they can work diligently on it.
For a bit.
Yeah, right.
Short period of
time. But yeah, that I thought was like, oh, well, that's why I was 34 when I got diagnosed.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
And WebMD also noted that it's thought to be caused by the dopamine deficiency in our brains that makes it difficult to, quote, switch gears and take up a boring task that might be necessary.
Yes.
Because ADHD people have brains that are, quote, drawn to activities that give instant feedback.
Which makes sense. And you know, we've talked about how ADHD, one of the, like, theories is it's not at a deficit of attention. It's you have trouble regulating your attention.
Correct.
Which is what this is. You're hyper-focusing because you can't regulate, okay, I have 5 things I need to do today.
Yes.
But I have this one thing that I'm enjoying doing, so I'm going to spend the whole day doing this instead of managing my time.
Yes.
Yeah, this is like a highlight reel of all of our episodes
it
so
is.
far.
Which really surprised me in researching it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize, like, the Venn diagram of symptoms at this point is becoming just a very tight circle. It's like that kaleidoscope, like what was that called?
The spirograph.
Yeah. It's the spirograph where everything is just overlapping.
Yeah.
I also found an article on themighty.com. Did you go there?
Was it what to know about ADHD and hyperfixations?
I don't know. Might be.
I have a snippet from them that says ADHD behaviors are not binary, like good or bad, but they exist on a spectrum. Mm-hmm. So a hyperfixation can be a positive thing when it's focused on productive tasks. And it also says that even during these periods where you're doing something productive, you have to be cautious not to become so hyper-focused on it that you lose track of everything happening around you, like eating or going to the bathroom.
Yes. Yeah, I think I was reading the same article because it also noted that adults and children hyper-focus in order to de-stress and self-soothe.
Yeah, I read that a lot of times this appears in conjunction with a lot of neurodivergence diagnoses, and that it really is used as like a coping tool for a lot of people. Like, I know I definitely like kind of self-soothe with hyperfixations. Mine tend to be seasonal also.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not big on like picking something up and dropping it aside from like a season change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get that way a lot of times with like TV shows, frankly. Like I can sit and watch, every free moment I have will be a new Real Housewives season that I like missed the whole season of. So I'm just binging like 20 fucking episodes.
Yep.
And like that's all I care about. Or like it's not all I care about, but it's the only thing that I'm interested in watching.
The way that I wrote it for myself when I was reflecting on this is I will fixate on things, and I spend my time when I'm not working on that trying to figure out how to fit in time to do it. So even if I'm doing something else, if I'm like, okay, I have to do dishes, or I'm cooking or whatever, I'm in the back of my mind in one of my, 6 different dialogues that are happening between me and imaginary.
The different SpongeBobs that are running around your brain on fire.
All the SpongeBobs that are burning files in my head. One of them is always like, okay, if you do this and this and this, and you finish this by this time, then you can go do the thing you want to do.
I do tend to hold myself hostage with boring stuff.
Oh, yeah, I do that.
In order to do the fun thing that I want to do.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Sometimes. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work because I'm too smart for my own good, and I know it's a lie. I know that I can just do what I want.
I do that sometimes, too. I would say I am more likely to continue to pile on things. Okay, I'll just do this. Okay, let me just do this. Okay, let me just do this. And I'll tell myself, do 2 things a nap, because I'm not a napper, and I will, try and force myself to do it. Cut to, it's 6 o'clock, and I'm like, well, I've gotten done all the things now, and I'm too tired to do anything else.
Yes.
And it's too late to take a nap.
That frequently happens to me. Not necessarily even to take a nap, but if I'm like, okay, I just need to do, 2 loads of laundry, put those away, vacuum, clean out the litter box,
clean the kitchen.
Take the trash out, and then I can go golfing.
Yeah.
And then by the time I finish all that, it's 3 p.m.
Yep, and now it's too late.
In October, November, starting your round of golf at 3 p.m. is a bad time.
Yes.
You're not going to get in 18 holes, I can tell you that.
You're going to have a bad time.
It's one of those things where, then I get to that point, and I'm like, well, now I just sit here like a zombie, like Colin Robinson sitting in his room just staring at the wall.
And I just start taking a hammer and knocking holes in my wall. I don't even know. It's almost like I'm agitated somehow, but it makes me feel better. I don't have taking a hammer to the walls as one of my
To be fair, I haven't tried it, so...
You know what? That's a good point. I haven't tried it. Not that I plan on starting, but...
The day is young.
Yeah. There is time. Remember that agitation you were talking about? I think one thing that is important with hyperfixations is kind of checking in with yourself and making sure that you have a healthy balance, that something's not interrupting your daily life, it's not harming you. I think...
Because that same article discussed,
addiction?
Yes.
Yes.
And how a hyperfocus or a hyperfixation can feel like an addiction.
Yes.
It's overwhelming your thoughts. It's all you're thinking about wanting to do.
You want to know what one of the examples was that they gave in an article? It was from totallyadd.com. They were talking about hyperfixation.
Uh-huh.
So they said, when you mix your fix in this conversation about addiction and hyperfixations, when you mix your fix, which is in quotes, of whatever your addiction is, then your emotions start to swing, and you have physical symptoms that make you feel that agitation.
When you mix your fix?
When you miss your fix. Yes. Okay. I had to think about that. I'm like, it wasn't mix.
I was mix it with what?
Are we talking about food now?
Cut it with some Molly and you're fine.
That's it.
Don't do that. That wasn't a recommendation. I have a list of things on how to counteract hyperfocus.
Oh, cool. No. No, I prefer to just let them dominate my life. I did say that I have a tendency, because mine are seasonal, so the season changes. I have I think I'm realizing now, my body kind of freaks out when the seasons change. I get the hit of dopamine because I'm like, all these things that I love to do this time of year, and I load my calendar up, and then I panic, and then I do nothing for a month, and then the season changes, and I start all over again.
Cool.
So yeah, coping tools I think would be great. Would be great.
So one of the first ones I think is actually more if you, listener, love somebody who has ADHD or neurodivergence, they recommended starting a dialogue about the behavior if your loved one is stuck in a hyperfocus.
No, thank you.
Adults may not realize that they're fixated on something, so just having a validated conversation even if you're just asking them like, hey, what are you working on lately? Like, kind of help them get it out of their system by over talking about it a bit.
Buckle in because I'm about to info dump on you.
Right, exactly. Because then it also can help you clear your own mind to like vomit out that information and have space for the other things that you do like need to get done.
Yeah, I don't even require prompting for that. I mean, if you get me going on a rip, then
right, it's just a matter of like getting going, and because I know that I don't often like I don't just like spontaneously start talking about something that I'm super into.
Oh yeah, no, it's really just my spouse I info dump on.
Yeah.
You're walking through the room and I'm on one right now, so guess what? About to hear a lot of facts. A lot of plans.
And then whoops, scrolled up by accident. They also recommended setting timers or deadlines for yourself. So, like I mentioned earlier, like hold the hyperfocus item hostage. Like you can't do the cross stitch pattern until you put away all the laundry. And just pick that one thing that you need to get done and then reward yourself rather than like what we do where we just keep holding it hostage and we go to an extreme.
And then I feel tension because I never get to do what I want to do.
Right, which is my next point. Completely cutting off the pleasurable activity doesn't solve the problem of hyperfocus.
Yep.
It's kind of like in dieting and food restriction when you say, like, I can never have pizza again. All you're doing is thinking about pizza.
Yeah.
When you finally allow yourself to have pizza, and you turn into Violet Beauregard. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
One of the things I am kind of working on now is I'm trying to, because I notice a lot of things for me are seasonal, I'm trying to create, like, seasonal checklists for myself so that I feel more like I have a plan going into something. Like, I just realized, man, I have to wash, like, our winter coats, hats, gloves, and if I had a checklist of stuff, like, hey, remember, every fall, you have to do this.
Oh, you don't do that in the spring when you put them away?
No, I don't think. I think I usually wind up, I'd rather wash it before because then I'm just going to wash it again before and it's a down thing, so it's just like a whole, and I think that's part of it too, is it's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think if I had a list, so that's what I'm working on now. I'm developing different lists for myself, like, you know, a few times a year you're going to have to check in, do I need a new bra?
Which, like,
or am I going to wait until this bra has holes in it? Do I need new socks, or do my socks have holes in them?
That's the benefit to, you know, hint, hint, maybe, having a planner in a binder format where pages can be clipped in and out if you have, like a semi-permanent to-do list that you just move from year to year in your day planner.
Yeah, I have started, I guess a little ADHD win, started using dry erase boards everywhere, and they are so much more effective for me than I was using Post-it notes previously.
Yeah.
And knowing that I can take care of it. I used to there's enjoyment in removing something off the board, the same that I get from crossing something off the list, but I'm not then cluttering myself with paper, losing things. So I just got one for our fridge. So I've been working on my seasonal list on the fridge of stuff I need to do, which has been helpful.
Nice.
And it declutters my brain, which is always my top priority.
For sure. Another recommendation is once you realize you're in a hyperfocus, move around, like as simple as just changing your body position. Like if you're at work, for example, and you realize like you haven't gotten up to pee in a few hours or had a sip of water, which happened to me a lot this past week, then you can like very simply like stand up and sit back down, or like recross your legs, or just get up and go to the bathroom. Like just take those 30 seconds to a minute of your time and like reset so that you're not totally breaking out of getting work done, but you're also giving your brain a signal that like other things are happening. Yeah. Just like,
sometimes I'll step outside and get sunlight and fresh air, ideally, for a few minutes.
And if you know, like, there's a project that you have to get done, like reorganizing your island, for example, set like benchmark goals for that project and then take a predetermined type of break when you reach that goal.
I think I am getting much better with, I used to be very, well, I guess hyper-focused with it. When it would come to like something I wanted to get done around the house, I would spend a whole day working on it. I would get overwhelmed at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I would like lose steam and then like half-ass the rest of it.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to get better with working on things, chipping away at something instead of trying to do it all at once. And being nicer to myself about it, and being like, you don't have to, no, there's no deadline. Like,
yeah,
you can take your time to get something done.
Something I've noticed, especially on the weekends when I'm doing stuff around my apartment, is that almost like regardless of whether I feel hungry, I do have to stop and eat lunch at like 12 or 1.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives me the opportunity to like reassess how I'm doing on whatever my tasks are for that day,
mm-hmm.
and then set a plan for the rest of the day.
That's true. Yeah, I do tend to do like
also
a check-in.
forces me to feed myself.
Yes.
Because I have no problem eating lunch at work, but on the weekends, I'm real bad at regular meal times.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes it's like, oh, are we eating a full dinner at 4 o'clock?
Yeah.
Did we not eat all day, so now we have to eat a full dinner at 4 o'clock? Yeah, that's super common.
Yeah. So, I've gotten a lot better at setting those things, but I like the idea of like, kind of, even if you're just like mentally saying like, okay, once I paint this wall, I'm going to take a break, sit outside for 10 minutes, whatever. And then Attitude Mag noted that adults can find jobs that provide public accountability along with more immediate and enjoyable consequences. And that can be ideal for people with ADHD. And that article, I don't know where the number comes from, so like full disclosure, this could be completely made up by Attitude Mag, but they said that 35% of people with ADHD are self-employed by the time they're in their 30s. And that figure is far higher than the neurotypical population. Yeah.
That's interesting.
And then they had this quote that said, I coach baseball, notes Sears, and I always put kids with ADHD in as pitchers and catchers. As pitchers, their ability to hyperfocus helps them focus on the target, and as catchers, it heightens their awareness of the batter. Kids with ADHD make great hockey goalies for the same reason. When the puck's at the other end of the rink, they're looking around distracted, but as soon as the puck comes down the rink towards them, they click into hyperfocus and become very alert.
That's really funny because when I was a kid and we would play like soccer, full disclosure, I knew none of the rules to any sport, still don't. But I always wanted to be the goalie because I could mentally fuck off most of the time and then just pay attention for a little bit.
Anything where I didn't have to run the entire
also that
rink or course or field, I was on board with. So
what about hyperfixations with food? Do you get food hyperfixations also?
Yes,
actually, I'll eat something until I hate it.
That was one of the first things that made me realize that I have an issue with hyperfixation. Is that I saw something on Instagram, I think it actually might have been Elise Myers again, where she said something like, is this your hyperfixation meal or are you normal or something? And it's like her caption was something to the effect of like, I'm just going to eat this until I can't stand it anymore. And I was like, oh my God, that is exactly what I do. And I will eat, it sounds so pathetic, but like, I'll eat those, like, frozen chicken strips, like the breaded ones, for weeks on end.
You can use them for everything. I can put them on a sandwich. I can put them on a wrap. I can do
I will just eat them plain. Like,
I can do them with
and I'll do, like,
sauce.
Air-fried Brussels sprouts with, like, the Bob Evans mashed potatoes. And, like, that's my food forever. And then, like, all of a sudden, no more. And I'm like, lost with food, which is one of the things that, like, when I was working with my dietitian or my nutritionist, I don't know which is the right phrase. She's registered.
That's a dietitian, I think nutritionist is more of like a self-appointed term.
Oh yeah, no, she's actually like licensed and but I was like, you know, I was doing overnight oats for a while and loving it, and then I'd bring my overnight oats to work for breakfast, and I will just starve myself until lunch rather than eat the overnight oats, no matter how hungry I am. Or I'll eat my lunch for breakfast and then skip lunch because I like, would rather rip my own arm off and roast it over an open fire to eat than eat my overnight oats. And it's so irritating because like there's no hint that this like is going to turn off before it does.
I only realize it in groceries. Because I'll buy something that I've been buying, and then it sits in my fridge and it's not, or it sits on the counter and it's not getting used, and I'm like, oh, I don't want that anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't. So yeah, it's definitely, I go through phases, and I do need to be better about writing down. I think part of it is if I was better at writing down like easy go-to like weeknight meals that we have, I would be less likely to get caught in a loop of, because sometimes it's not even that I want it, it's ease.
It doesn't it doesn't happen as much to me in the winter because I can do a crock pot soup and have that ready to go. Mm-hmm. And so it takes out the issue of like trying to meal plan or figure out what I'm going to eat one day.
I do love soup season.
And then, but in the summer I end up with these hyperfixations because I need something that is simple and quick and I can reach for it. And I think part of the reason that I do it is like that self-soothing thing that we were discussing earlier, where like I can just be so overwhelmed, so overtired from work that I need something that I don't have to think about.
That's when I make peanut butter and jelly and slice an apple.
I've been on a huge PB&J kick lately.
I love peanut butter and jelly. That's definitely like a
although I did get jelly recently because I was running out of what I currently had, and I guess what I had at home was jam.
Oh yeah, let me clarify. I want peanut butter and jam.
Yeah, it turns out I don't like jelly.
No, the texture, again, like I want it to taste like there's fruit.
And I always had jelly growing up. Mm-hmm. So as a kid, we always had jelly. And,
are you a grape or a strawberry person?
Grape.
I like both.
I would rather have, if I'm not going to have grape, I want like a darker berry, like raspberry or blackberry. I don't want strawberry jam.
See, I don't like raspberry jam on a PB&J. Strawberry is definitely my go-to. But I also really love fig jam on toast. That's another one that I'm a big fan of. I'm also, I will never get sick of the feta pasta TikTok trend.
Oh, God, that is so good.
It's just the most, again, I could have a podcast just about this feta pasta because I'm so obsessed with it.
Yeah. Totally.
I make it a million different ways, and it's just like an easy, simple, quick.
And so easy to like bulk up with like extra vegetables. Like the blistered tomatoes are delightful. But like
whatever I have in the fridge.
Adding in, broccoli, green beans, Brussels sprouts. Yeah. Yep. Anything. Mushrooms. And then it's, I've done it with mushrooms. It's so good. But then it's also, like, it's excellent hot or cold. Like, you can use it as, like, in the summer as, like, a pasta salad base. Or, like, I've had it and then, like, added in, like, a vodka sauce. And
you know what would be good is pesto, if you added pesto to it.
I've done that, too.
Man.
Because it ends up just being a base to whatever. So, like, whatever sauce you want to put on it.
And you could do orzo, rice, pasta. It's so good, and you can even do it like dip bread into it. It's so good. I've actually, we did that.
We did that,
as an appetizer.
Oh yeah,
it's almost like I've had this thought before. I don't know who thought of that, but that's a great idea. Oh my god. And like I said,
working
clothing.
Memory.
Look at that. No goldfish. And I do with clothing too, like, and again, especially in the wintertime, I'll have like 4 items that I can't stop wearing that I literally wash and then put right back on.
That's what I did, was it last winter or late winter, maybe early spring, where I got those 5 sweaters from Target. Because I got them in like every color.
Yep.
Because, I was like, I fucking love this sweater. This is perfect. I can wear it to work. It's like slouchy, so I can wear it when I feel like I'm potato shaped. And
yep. If I'm bloated, guess what? It works. If I'm not bloated, guess what? It's cozy and works. Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, no, they were like $20 a piece, and like, I got 1,000 of them.
Yeah. And then this winter, you're gonna be like, I hate that sweater. I never want to wear it again. Who bought this?
Now my thing is quarter zips.
Guess what? I do it with music too. Like, I will listen to something until I hate it.
I didn't realize that was an ADHD thing, but frequently, I've done it for years, since I've been a practicing attorney, so at least 8 years. I find one song I like and will listen to it on repeat for like 8 hours straight.
Yeah, you abuse it, and then you decide you hate it, and you never want to hear it again.
Because it turns into like this background noise thing, but it's varied enough that like I don't go to sleep with it or whatever, but like, yeah, like I have a couple songs that are just like comfort song, and like, so like a Brothers Osborne song with like a 3-minute guitar solo.
You could have been speaking a different language to me right now, and it would have been the same thing.
They're a country band.
Side note, funny story. I have a friend who is Spanish speaking and was speaking to her daughter in Spanish. I think they were at a birthday party, and another child at the birthday party. This is honestly one of the funniest things I've ever heard. asked her why she was speaking Minion, and I just sent me. She told me that, and I was like, scream laughing.
So to this other kid, it sounded like dooby-doo.
Yes. To him, she was speaking the same thing as a Minion in speaking Spanish to her daughter.
Oh,
and the dad had to clarify, like, it's because you're speaking Spanish and he just doesn't understand it. So he is assuming as a toddler that you're speaking Minion.
That's precious. But I hope that your friend's going to be a Minion for Halloween.
Oh, God, it's so funny. I hope not, because worst costume, terrible. I don't remember how we got it. Oh, that country song.
Yeah.
Yeah, country music might as well be in a Minion language, because I know nothing and no one, and yeah, I don't know anything about it, so I do the same thing, though, that I pick a music and decide I'm going to listen to it until I hate it. Mm-hmm. I pick a music. I do pick a music.
Distinguishments. That's a word. It's not weird.
But yeah, it's I'm good with getting into something, into a mode, and I'm absolutely unstoppable until I can't anymore. And then have to find something else to stimulate that dopamine, and it's a struggle sometimes.
Yeah, I do think that I saw something somewhere that said, they didn't like come right out and say it, but sort of like how to turn on hyperfocus when you need it. Mm-hmm. And I think like body doubling is a great way to do that.
Yeah.
And just having somebody next to me to lick stamps and
somebody to help me make that bug out bag and buy 50 pounds of dry beans for my basement. Oh my gosh. Well, this was a great... This episode recording is a case study of a lot of different symptoms of ADHD. And
yeah, but let us know what you guys think. What's your latest hyperfixation? What do you like to hyperfixate on?
I'm interested to hear... Because that is so true that it is I can understand why it is a hard thing to study because it is so individual.
Right.
I'm interested to hear ones that are just, for enjoyment and not serving another purpose. Since I seemingly am incapable of just enjoying something purely with no purpose.
Yeah.
Also known as fun. So yeah, interested to hear about that. You can find us on social media, obviously. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
On Instagram a lot.
Yeah, definitely Instagram is where we're most active. Reach out on social media. I really do respond to everybody, even the bots, because...
I laugh pretty hard when there's a bot response. I don't know if you saw our post with... Katie was posting about cryptids and got a bot that was talking about crypto. And she was like, close. I laughed out loud. And I'm interested, if there's another ADHD topic, little pocket of ADHD we haven't talked about yet, let us know. We do have some episodes coming up on sleep and food and stimming, and there's some fun stuff coming.
Yeah. But as usual, if we get more excited about something in the interim, we can always bump our recording schedule around.
God knows we got no problem doing that.
Because, like most people in their 30s who have ADHD, we work for ourselves.
And remind ourselves once a week, we don't have a boss. And then we don't really do much with that. We just get really excited at the prospect and get that hit of dopamine and just continue on with what we were doing.
Right. Yeah. I do try to remind Garrett of that often. Is if we do this long enough, then this can just be your job all the time.
Yeah. So join our Patreon.
Yeah, join our Patreon.
Help us become self-employed.
Share us with everybody you know. Tell us topics you want us to cover. And even if they're not ADHD related, as you saw, we took a little bit of a ADHD break for Halloween. So if you liked that kind of little palate cleanser of topics, I hope you did. I liked it.
I think it's good seasonally, as a side note. Well, thanks for tuning in to another episode. We do appreciate everyone's support so much.
Yeah.
We get so much great feedback, and it's just makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
It does. It makes my brain tingle with joy.
Yeah. Emotional dysregulation, something. Anyway, so tune in next week. We will see you again next Thursday. See you next Thursday.
Oh, my goodness.
Every week. Sorry. Can't help myself.
And, remember to go for a walk.
And try a new hyperfixation that's good for you, but also fun. And be kind to yourself because
the bar is ankle high. Bye. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be here next Thursday with a brand new episode to delight your brain juices. In the meantime, the best way to support us is to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast streaming platform. You can keep up with us during the week on Instagram and Facebook at The Bar is Ankle High and on Twitter at Ankle High Pod. If you want even more ankle high hot takes in your life and have a few dollars to spare, consider joining our Patreon at patreon.com/thebarisAnkleHigh. We post bonus episodes there full of our karaoke attempts, Am I the Asshole discussions, and wondering how we even managed to survive this long. Patreon subscribers also get exclusive access to our secret Patreon-only Facebook group and get added to our close friends list on Instagram. Until next week, remember to be kind to yourself because the bar is ankle high.